hate for it not to be there at the end. And you're like, TK.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, whatever you were doing before that local recording thing kind of popped up was working fine for. Oh, hello.
Oh, hey,
Welcome
yeah,
to
we'll
another
do that
podcast.
before.
We seem to have gone live. What?
I,
What happened?
I hit the button on the top right that says start the broadcast.
I love this feeling of like we just happen
Non,
to accidentally
like,
podcast every week.
it, er,
It's sort of my favorite.
hey, we're back actually at our normal time for once. I mean, I think if you think about it, for the last month and a
Yeah.
half, the schedule's been
Been playing around
basically
with dates
all
and
over the place.
times and everything there too. And so we had a few folks waiting. We see some chatter in the chat. Bionic Scoop. We got
Dude,
LaShawn,
Scoop,
holla
how
at
you
your boy.
doing?
We got Bray Gray. Greg! Hey, Greg,
Dude,
what's
how you
going on?
doing?
My tech
Rolando,
review.
Rolando's in the chat as well. Hey, man, how you doing?
Excellent. So
Oh
yeah,
man, good push.
welcome to another episode, Best of Our Week, where two cranky old tech nerds chat out what their favorite tech of the week was. And we've got quite a bit. I mean, like, it's so funny to me that I already feel like I've been living in 2023 for a while, and
Hmm.
we're only getting through the second week of it,
I was gonna
and
say
this
it's
is
literally
like
this. It's barely the second week. We're not even all the way through
right.
the second week. Um, yeah, it's just been like that. I mean, last week for me has been like crazy, like
Yeah,
running.
you've been bouncing around, man.
The every year I forget. I don't know why. Maybe there's like this magical thing where you always forget how much walking you do when you're in Vegas, because we always come back and then you're like, oh crap, I gotta walk all that much. And luckily the weather wasn't too bad. It rained a little bit, not a lot. I was worried we were going to have another power outage like I think was it the 2018 or 2019 CES,
Yeah,
power outage in the main hall. But it was not, it
freaky.
was pretty, yeah. It was crazy, man. It was bad weather, and then everything goes dark and you're like, okay, this
Uh
is not
oh.
good. Yeah, because
Uh
there's just
oh.
so many people. Remember, there's so much people
Yeah.
and it's indoors. If there's no light, you're bound to hit something. um, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. I still say though, didn't feel like it was 100% back. There's still
No.
it still felt a little bit light, although there
Yeah.
was more people than last year. I'll say that.
And I think because we talked about this, you and Adam Dowd were kind enough to join me on my Monday morning
Yeah,
stream,
of
just
course.
with travel CES travel sort of fresh on the brain.
Like right off the
And
boat. Yeah.
this is kind of nice because you've had a little time to kind of reflect about what some of your favorite parts and pieces were.
Yeah.
But the main takeaway for me was seeing an organization, the sort of the people behind running CES every
Hmm.
year,
Yeah.
starting to figure out, and I don't know that they'll have an answer anytime soon. It might be another couple years before this question is sort of properly answered, but starting the process of redefining what is the value of a CES.
Hmm.
And we've seen some trade shows really struggle with that. E3 is in
Oh,
miserable shape trying to figure
absolutely.
out what does a gaming trade show look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
MWC seems like it's going to be really healthy this year. Seems like it's going to be a strong year for
I'm
MWC.
from the leaks and the things going on. I'm not gonna lie to
Oh
you.
yeah.
I am trying my hardest to make myself appear in Barcelona during MWC, and trying
Yeah.
really hard to try to figure out how to make that happen right now. I'm hitting a few
Hmm.
roadblocks, but it
But
I've learned that very hardly this year. Like there was a lot of tech.
yeah,
I appreciate all the tech that was shown at
for sure.
CES.
But
Very little of that was
there's
mobile.
but
Like,
and beyond just not being mobile, because I don't know that CES is. I mean, I've been going to CES. I've been getting like those. Those photo
mhm.
reminders. Hey, this is where you were 12 years ago. And it's like,
I
hey,
was
it's me
getting
on the
them
CES show floor.
as I was at CES. I was getting reminders of
Yeah.
last year's. I'm like, come on,
Hey.
hey.
But when we look at, like CES has never been the strongest mobile show. I think in years past there has been a stronger showing of mobile than what we sort of think of for a
There was
modern
a few
CES.
years. Yeah, I was gonna say there was a few years where we've had. I mean, heck, LG's last biggest
Hmm.
announcement that we saw before they went, kaput,
Yes,
was at CES 2020.
for sure.
You know what I mean?
And
But
showing
yeah,
off
you're
some
right.
fun vaporware too. But
Oh, absolutely.
it to me is now it's an opportunity to define, and I think there's a good niche beginning with automotive tech and with other
Oh my
kinds
God,
of
yeah,
lifestyle
so
tech.
much, so much.
And
Yes, absolutely.
that can be sort of the CES flavor. And then that leaves us kind of open for maybe something like IFA taking over as more of like the sort of kitchen home. They've always been really strong with like smart appliances and IoT and
Very,
stuff like
very,
that.
yeah,
So
exactly. IFA would be the opposite side of what CES is for Europe, because
yes,
last year I was lucky enough to be able to go to both MWC and IFA, and I realized that literally, I mean, for IFA, if it wasn't for Honor and for Huawei, there would have been no mobile.
yeah,
TCL was there, and they weren't showing off any of their mobile devices. They were showing off the NextWear S, the glasses that you were playing
mm-hmm.
with. From that, if you haven't, by the way, for everybody watching the show, if you haven't had a chance to check out that video, Juan dropped an epic video comparison between
I've
some
got
some
them
of the
all
top
on the
players.
bookshelf behind me back here. So
It'll
we've
be
got
basically where Juan can put
TCL
like one glass,
glasses,
one glass, one glass.
and we've
Absolutely.
got Rokids, and we've got Nreal. Oh, ooh, almost dropped them. Nreal Airs. So if we
So
just
I
need.
and I've been lucky enough to say that I've been able to play with all three of those. One of the Rokid ones that basically stole from you for about a month and a half, and I'm happy that you let me that you weren't bugging me about it. I'll say this: I like yeah, the guy's cool. He's not calling me for it. I'm not going to call him. Um, so yeah, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, there was a lot of talk also about that this year at CES. But I feel like that's what IFA for me is a little bit more where, like, I mean, I
Yeah.
think we talked about it on Monday on your show. Honestly, I probably would have benefited more had I put the money that I put towards CES. Although I drove to CES, I still had to pay for hotel accommodation and stuff like because I wasn't sponsored. Some other people were. I normally never stress about that part for CES. It's so
Yeah,
close that I was just going to go either way. Um, and then maybe put that money towards a ticket
for
to pay
sure.
for the airfare.
I
Because
was
yeah,
still like 70-30, maybe 60-40, whether or not I was going to go.
I
And
wanted
then
you
I
to be
did.
100.
I,
Uh,
I ended up booking that job where it's like, oh, the deliverable on this will cover my mortgage. I
Dude,
should probably stay.
what
And so I
you
ended
did
up
was the
missing
right
another
thing to do.
CES.
Yeah, and you missed out on a lot of the fun. And I'll say this, yes, no, serious. I sent you that picture of the Shake Shack we went to. I
Yeah,
seriously,
that
I
was sweet.
miss. I mean, obviously, I don't miss you walking around with Newegg all the time because it was such a,
For
we talked for like a
sure.
couple of minutes and then you had to go. But like, we saw everybody, we saw a whole bunch of people. TCL was doing amazingly. They made an announcement
Yeah.
today about their partnership with the NFL. They took us to their stadium.
That's
Like, that
huge.
was
Yeah.
such an amazing thing. Like, seriously, it was so much excitement going on with their TVs. I saw that they have like ultra wide gaming monitors. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of other things they don't talk about, but then when you go to their booth, sorry, you get to see some of the other stuff. So gaming is a big part of what they're trying to do. Obviously, kitchen electronics and so on, they do all of that, but there was basically a massive showing there. Our friends over at OnePlus were also there with their, I forgot the name of the company. I can't remember. Hold on. And I know I'll bring that. Oh, Navitas. So with
Oh,
the company basically that puts the tech in their chargers, essentially
yeah.
what we typically see as SuperVOOC, it's a company called Navitas,
Mm-hmm.
and they were there and they were obviously collaborating. And I have a can for you, and when I see you next time, I want to make sure to give it to you. I brought. I don't know if you drink energy drinks, but regardless, you can have it. It's a SuperVOOC energy drink
That's
from
awesome.
OnePlus because why not? If you're gonna love your OnePlus
Yeah.
device, might as well get the energy drink to match it.
We got my
Uh,
10 like right here, and if I just need to
yeah,
juice up real quick, it's
like,
like the
you're
fastest.
like
There you
open the
go.
can and just shower. But no, it's a cool little thing, and they had a whole bunch. And I was like, I actually took a few extra at the time, and I was just every time I saw somebody I'm like, hey, you want an energy drink? And like, here you go. It looked like a pusher for some reason. But yeah,
Only
I
the
do have one
first
for you.
one's free, Sonny Jim.
Hey man, don't tell him the trick, man. It's not supposed to be there.
I don't know that that's so proprietary a business model. I feel like that's been pretty well explored.
For many years and well documented actually on many how to catch a predator kind of. No, just kidding. This show's going south. But I do know definitely when I get a chance to see you, I want to give. Oh, and then speaking of which,
Yeah.
before I go too far on this, I know we talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
Not a sponsor, not a thing from from anything other than
But
them being just really cool people. The
what's
folks
there?
over at Extreme Skins, sorry,
Oh,
sent
what'd you get? What'd you
both.
get? What'd you get?
So I got a few skins, and I wanted to show them to you, and I wanted to see which ones you wanted to get. So,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm hoping Sony is going to be nice to me. So let's say Sony, can you focus? Yes. So, oh wait, you
Those
know what?
are
So those are,
those are
hold
for
on, let me.
Pixels.
Those are Pixel 7 Pro. Hold on, let me turn on the light because otherwise, here you are. So
Oh,
you get,
nice. So
so
like one's
they're
kind of like a
textured.
brushed. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all like the first one's kind of metallic, the other one is textured more like a leather, and then the black one is um not sandstone, but like a very nice texture. It's a grippy texture, and then there's of course a
Well,
cutout for the G
I'm
in
really
there.
proper happy with my Pixel 7 Pro case. So is there one that you really like out of those three skins?
I haven't, I don't know. The wood skin that I had on my Pixel 6 Pro from last year, that was from them. They sent that out to me, and so it's really nice. They
Oh,
do a
nice.
really good job. But you have to do the heat gun, or not the heat gun, the hair dryer thing. The other
Oh,
two,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
where am I here? Am I doing it correctly here? Now these, which I think you're probably going to like a little bit more too, since you're rocking the the Xperia. So we have a more of a
Oh,
leathery black in the back. We have a
oh,
solid
that light
gray,
gray. If I can
and
steal that gray
then
from you,
and
that
the
would be
camo.
hot.
But look at the
Yeah, I'm
camo.
not super big into camo, but I love the
Nope.
idea of like
It
having an
has that.
even lighter
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely,
sort of
dude. No, you
matte
got it. You got it.
finish.
And there's a
Okay,
cutout for Sony. So there's a cutout for the word Sony too. So
perfect.
you gets it. So next
I'll
time I see
absolutely
you,
take that one. Take that one off your hands. I'm pretty much down for any of the Pixel ones if there's one that you like
okay.
specifically. But
Yeah. I gotta see because where is my Pixel? Oh, here. So my Pixel's in a it's not in a see-through case. So now I need to get a see-through case to put it on.
yeah, I
Honestly,
have a clear I have a clear bumper, but like I said, I've really enjoyed being able to kind of pop on quickly with
Mhm.
the Peak Design accessories
Yep.
mount,
I haven't bought
and
the Peak Design one, and I've been meaning to, but yeah.
I might reach out to you, Lonzi, because they just started a phone mount system of their
Oh
own.
my God. Okay.
And
I love
so
that. I love that.
we'll have to see if there's like some fun competition there. I don't think they've made any specific cases outside of like I think they have iPhone cases, but it's like the Peak Design. They make like an adhesive
Mhm.
mount that
Yeah,
then can go on any case, and I might
exactly.
do a clear bumper for that, and then have the Peak Design so I can like swap systems
Yeah.
just by popping cases on and off. So we'll have to see how that plays.
No, for sure, for sure. And so I know it seems like it's a lot of things. I just wanted to get that out of the way before I forget.
For
So
sure, thanks,
next
man.
time I
That's
see you,
really
I will
cool.
be bringing gifts. I'll say that.
Well, and definitely, I mean, a shout out to the folks at Extreme Skins. That was
Oh
really
no,
nice of you. That's really cool.
absolutely, and not sponsored. I mean, they were nice enough to send it. And if you do decide to buy them, just use code TKBay, and you'll get a 10% off your order. Again,
Greg's
no, it's
Greg's
not an
saying
affiliate.
you should hold out for my Rokid. my
My broken.
you can have this Xperia skin if you give me those XR glasses.
Oh, dude. No, for sure, for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, Sam knows about them. They
For
used to
sure.
sponsor his stuff, but for us, it was just nice. Like I said, if you guys save, it's not an affiliate. There's nothing. We don't get anything. You just save a couple of bucks off your order. I'll say that much. So
Nice.
definitely very nice. But to kind of bring it back to a little bit with CES and all the news and all the things that kind of came out. I mean, there was a lot of obviously computer related technologies. I think
Hmm.
CES is known for that. We talked about it on Monday with the Lenovo, I want to say
Yeah.
the 9i, the Yoga Book 9i. And
Did you get to go by the Lenovo?
so I saw them at
Because
Showstopper. So
I
they
was
were
gonna
at
say,
Showstopper. Yeah, they went to Showstoppers and they went to they obviously know they did their rounds, but they were definitely at not Showstoppers, they were at PepCom. My mistake.
Pepcom.
PepCom was first, Showstoppers was second. So yes, no, I got a chance to see it, and it's really something that you have to see in person when you
Hmm.
see the functional aspect of it with the case, especially with the Bluetooth keyboard case that they're selling, that
Yeah.
they're depending on where you're getting it, may be included. It makes so much sense. Like that dual display, just having that whole longer display
Now I
form
was going to say
factor,
we should
opening up
explain
multiple
what
windows.
this is. It's
Yeah.
basically
Sorry.
Lenovo's take on the Surface Neo. And again, we had Sam in the chat here really early on in the show saying like, "Hey, I'm
Yeah.
so sad." Rumors are saying that it's pretty well confirmed. I don't know if it's outright confirmed, but there will not be a dual panel Duo 3, and the rumor is that Microsoft is going to be looking at making a traditional folding plastic screened device. And it's just so sad because Microsoft was the company that got us really lit up about dual panel portable laptop-y things from the days of Project Courier to some of the teasers for things like the Surface Neo. And now here's Lenovo doing it legit.
Yep.
And Microsoft is the company that's walking away from dual display now. And you're like,
They're like,
every
well,
time we get so
Lenovo did it.
close.
They're like, well, they took they basically said, hey, you announced it, we made it. You know what I mean? Like you took forever to bring it to show. I'll say that obviously yoga books have been around for quite some time. We've seen different iterations from Lenovo on the yoga side, but it's always been somewhat of a foldable type of a device, sometimes with an e-ink display, sometimes with just more of a 360. I think it was the Yoga Book 360 that went all the way the other side, started us off on tablet experience and laptop experience at the same time. It works so nice, at least from what I've seen in the few minutes before people, because there was always a line every time I wanted to go see it. Everybody was excited about it because there was very few things, I'll say, that were super exciting at CES this year. Like there was a lot of technology. There's a lot of iterative technology and new things kind of going on. But I felt like from the computer side, things that make me excited, there's only two PCs or two type of technologies that got me excited. First was the Yoga Book 9i. The second was a Razer laptop that they came up that encompasses a creator and a gamer at the same time, with a refresh rate, with a basically a laptop that goes from QHD 120 to 1080p 240 resolution and frame rate. And it actually is able to upscale and downscale without resizing or changing anything. You can just basically choose the profile you want to work. So if you want to be a creator, you can go up to 4K at 120. And if you want to play games, you drop down to 1080 or, I don't know if it's 1080 or QHD, but essentially is you drop down to that up to 240 refresh rate. Like it was crazy how they were able to put that in the same body. So that technology for me is exciting. Obviously, they had a few others with their, what's it called? Their 4K camera, the one that utilizes, actual mobile sensor. They showed off Project Edge. That was also exciting. I got a chance to play with that earlier. So to me, it was, I'm waiting for them to send out those emails and say, hey, I know you put $5 to reserve one. Would you like to finally buy it? Because for $299, you can't really mess with it. Seriously, by comparison to the Logitech, I feel like this is night and day. This is what Logitech should have gone for.
Well, but that's what's so crazy to me is I think the popularity of the Steam Deck took a lot of other manufacturers, not by surprise, but I don't think that anyone was expecting the sort of audience outpouring and sort of the PC gamer reaction that we got to the Steam Deck. And so what I'm hoping is that's going to spur on even more competition with these varying ideas. I think there's room in this market for mostly game streaming based hardware, then more Android-y style kind of crossover. You can play Android games, maybe some good PC ports, and then game streaming, all the way up into proper PCs like Steam Deck and now some of these other boutique solutions. But the thing is, it's like now is that it's also at that precious time to market where the Steam Deck price is putting a lot of hurt on companies that were maybe not aiming quite as aggressive for their performance.
Like they were, exactly.
So already we've seen price cuts on the Logitech. I mean, isn't it now down to like $299? I want to say, or something like that.
And I got it at the $350, but no, absolutely.
But again, I mean, like a $50 thing isn't.
Oh no, it was down to $250 during the
it dropped even lower. Okay, so that would hurt a little bit more.
It was like, I don't even have the box. It's not like I can return it. Even just call, like, say, hey, can I get my refund? No, for what it offers and what it does, I feel like it's a good solution. And one of the things I really appreciate is actually because of your reel or your short that you put out this week. So TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge is available off of, if you have Netflix, of course. And surprisingly, if you were not running Android on a gaming experience, controller-based experience, then that would not have worked. So for me, because the Logitech is an Android tablet at its core, and I do have Netflix, I'm able to just log into my Netflix account, jump over to the Google Play Store through the gaming section, and download it for free. And now I have an extra game that I can play with controller configuration. So it's not as bad as it stands. And for the most part, Omar loves it a lot. And like with the exception of a few games, which I really wish they would do controller support, especially
Yeah.
even on Android. I think it runs pretty nicely. I think that's pretty much really where everything is like just fun. You can play Fortnite. You can play through GeForce Now. You can get really good graphics depending on the Wi-Fi, or you can download stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
I still think the Steam Deck is the center of all of this.
Oh, for
Razer
sure.
Edge is coming to play with G3X, and I think that's the biggest exciting thing that I wanted to see there. I
I
played with the original, like the bulky version of it from
right.
2021, and this year it's
I
just
think
so
that's the
nice.
thing that's making me a little concerned. I still think it's going to do well. I
Yeah.
still think it's something that Razer has kind of dabbled. I mean, I remember some of their attempts at making Windows powered gaming tablets in the past, and
Yeah, yeah.
they've dipped their toe into this market a couple of times, and every time they do, like they learn something else. I
Yeah.
still have my Razer Phone 2 over on the
Well,
bookshelf. I
I
refuse to let it
I
go.
have
But
same here.
I just want to say real quick, the only thing that makes me a little nervous about that is already seeing some of the spectacular performance improvements on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. And so
Yeah.
now if I'm trying to plan out where am I going to spend my entertainment dollars, how do I want to balance, like maybe I spend a little bit more on a phone. Maybe I wasn't going to go premium tier phone, but maybe if I spend a little bit more on that phone and then I throw on like a controller accessory,
Mhm.
aren't I really close to that kind of performance,
You're
power,
very
emulation, what that
you would be very
Steam,
close.
what
No,
that
no, absolutely.
Razer thing has to offer?
The only thing that Razer did end up throwing in a little bit more of a unique thing, the Kishi controller that comes with it, because the Razer Edge
Hmm.
is for everybody's preference. It's literally a tablet style type of
Sure.
a computing power.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
controllers snap on and snap off.
Oh,
So we've
it's
shown that
definitely a
before.
little bit more in keeping with the Steam Deck. If you want
Yeah,
the slightly larger but not full-sized tablet screen, totally appreciate that.
absolutely.
But I'm looking at like total entertainment dollars per gadgets,
Yeah, no, no,
and
absolutely.
can
From
you say $700? $700 could get you one of the phones that we're playing with right now with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2.
Mhm. So I'm gonna say
But can
I was like
$700 get you as nice an
pretty
experience with a
close.
Razer and a cheap phone? And I don't know it's hard to do the
I think
math on that.
it gets you close, with the exception that I will say this: the Razer Edge is
Hmm.
I think it was at $299.
Right.
So for the $299, and it's a dedicated. Uh, I guess
But
I'm
then
trying to.
but you'd be spending
You're
like
stuck. No, no,
three or
you're
$400 on a phone.
plus on top of that. No, I'm totally
Just
with the
saying.
experience. What I look at it, the way they implemented it, at least from what I've seen, from the hardware that I've seen prior, and I got a chance to see it again at CES. The cooling mechanism on this is absolutely next level. Like it actually
Yeah,
stays cold after many hours of demoing and
for sure.
playing games and doing. So there's no question there. It's definitely a purposely built type of an experience. The controller that comes with it isn't going to be sold separately. It's an included controller only, if a special version Kishi Pro 2, I think the way they're going to do it with audio
Hmm.
input.
You just keep
Uh,
talking. I'm not doing anything related to what you're discussing at
no, no,
all.
absolutely. As long as you're not doing what I'm talking about, we should be fine. Um, and I think from what it offers, if you are looking to be connected all the time with always LTE, and of course anything from GameSir, um, it proposes a unique experience, and it runs more, and
I
it
mean, no,
runs.
don't. I'm not trying to distract you or anything.
No, no, no. You're not. You're
This is
doing a very
totally
bad
a.
job of not distracting me. What I'll probably say is it's something they have to try. Maybe that's the best way to say it. It's something you have to try, and once you see the benefit of it, because I didn't think I
No,
would like a Steam Deck till you got one.
nearly as much
I'm
as I
not gonna
have.
lie.
Right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I at the beginning I truly didn't see the worth of $400 or so on a gaming system that was going to take me months and months to get. I didn't even get it for 6 months till after I put my money down, but I still waited, and when I
Yeah.
got it, it was like, oh my god, what the heck was I
Oh.
doing?
Oh. Okay.
You
Yes,
know,
I get this
so
now. And so I'm not trying to ride. I'm really not. I mean, I'm being a little snarky for entertainment's
very
sake, not
low
necessarily.
key, very low key.
but
Like
but
in
when we
your face.
start
Yeah,
when we
sorry.
start Yeah, it was pretty blunt. But when we start looking at like what does this offer as an entertainment experience,
Mhm.
and I feel it's on me to be optimistic and to be excited about for
Yeah.
some of these competitive options, but then also temper that against the fact that like it is an Android tablet.
Tablet at its
And
core. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
depending on what you want to do and what kind of power price performance you're aiming for, that Android experience can often be sort of achieved in other form factors and in other solutions. And so
Absolutely.
I'll be really anxious to see, like we're blurring the lines. Are we going to get some good premium tier phones with like good alternative video output modes, desktop modes,
Mhm.
putting an 8 Gen 2 on something that has like a thermoelectric cooler and then maybe plugging that into a TV, that might be a better gaming experience than what a
I talked
standalone
to the
tablet might
I
have
talked
to
to the folks
offer.
over at GameSir over when I was at PepCom, and
Yeah.
they were very, very nice, and they actually, and I can't find where I put it now, but they gave me one of their Microsoft controllers, the Xbox
Oh,
controllers
those are nice. Yeah.
with a replaceable faceplate. So that was nice. Hopefully I have a video for that coming out soon. Been
So I've
playing
just
with it.
been picking up this is the X3, the GameSir X3, and it's the one that has the cooler,
Yeah,
the cooling pad on it.
yeah, yeah.
And again, especially with Shredder's Revenge going to Netflix, I've been hooking up phones to this quite a bit, and man, wouldn't you know it, like this iQOO 11 is performing really well
I'm honestly
when
very
you
happy
throw
to
some cooling
I
on it.
finally got something with the HN2 in it. Like
Yes.
seriously, you had the iQOO and you've had it for some time, I think. And I know
Yeah, a
we
couple
talked
weeks now.
about possibly, doing a trade and maybe borrowing it from you. And I'm luckily enough. So yours is the true BMW striped edition. Mine
Mm-hmm.
is a Starry Night effect, and I don't unfortunately it does not show well in here.
Ooh.
So it's a black with like a star effect on there, and it looks
Mm-hmm.
better in video. And surprisingly enough, I forgot about that. I edited a video, an unboxing of it, and I put it in my Instagram, and I never hit post. But I did do a reel with the Insta360 because I was like, I got this, and I got to do something unique with it. Nobody's ever
Right.
gonna do, you know what I mean?
Woo!
Looks weird in the reel, I know, and the reality is, I'm holding the Insta360 from this little connector at the bottom, and essentially it has a zip line. So you
Or a garrote
basically
wire, depending
you're yeah
on what you're.
you're flinging in a $300 to $400 camera in air and hoping it doesn't disconnect. So
It's perfect. What could go
it was good.
wrong?
What could go wrong? I had to do that a few times before I realized what I was doing because I recorded it a few times when it wasn't a 360 video. It was doing just 4K 60 from one side of the camera, and I was like
Mm-hmm.
looking, and all I could see was basically my feet doing circles on the ground. So I'll say this: it's cool once it's done and once it's edited, and I love how what tech can do. But you're right. Yeah, it's a tough conversation. The Agent 2 is starting to show up. I mean, we heard obviously everybody, I don't know, probably everybody already knows, February 1st looks like it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
unpacked for Samsung. So those are going to be essentially the first, US launch of an Agent 2 processing device in the market.
Maybe.
I
Do we want to talk about the rumor for Samsung? Have you heard about the rumor for Samsung?
Rumor for Samsung? You mean
So
other
so
than the
the
unpacked?
rumor
Okay.
started that
Uh-huh.
what was going to go into the S23 was going to be a special overclocked version of the 8 Gen 2. And now the rumor has extended that the reason why it's going to be a special
Over.
side version is because Samsung will fab their own version of the 8 Gen 2 and they will not be using the TSMC version of the 8 Gen 2,
Oh.
which is making a lot of us really nervous. Samsung foundries have been hurting lately. They just lost a major part of an AMD deal because they haven't been able to get their advanced nodes and their yields up to snuff.
Mhm.
And I like my Tensor powered phones, but not because of what Samsung's doing, because of what Google is doing with machine learning is
Yeah. Yeah.
surprisingly performant. The
Yep.
actual Samsung part of this equation is just okay. So if the Galaxy
Okay.
S23 is rocking a Samsung fabbed version of the 8 Gen 2 and is climbing to a higher clock speed, that could be
Higher.
a bit
Uh,
concerning.
oh my God. So the last time you showed up to the party, you showed up hot and you're
Mm-hmm.
throttling yourself. And now you're coming up with a
Mm-hmm.
hotter, more perform. Okay. So I
And
guess maybe
especially
the maybe
along,
OnePlus 11 on the 7th of February would be the
well,
thing.
if that turns out to be the case, then the first real 8 Gen 2, as like as what the rest of the world is going to experience as a Qualcomm powered smartphone is going to
Like a
be on the
truly, yeah.
OnePlus. Yeah.
Which is
I'm
not
very
far, like
anxious
6
about
days later.
this. Yeah, I know. Because what they're talking mid-February, like first or second week of February. I forget when they said the announcement date was, but it
The
wasn't late,
announcement.
right?
No. They launched it on the 5th in China. 9th is when it
No,
became
but
available for
they
sale.
were going to
And
be doing
international.
another
Yeah.
international.
But
Yeah,
that's on the 7th. That's the 7th of February.
that's the 7th. That's right. So first
Sorry,
week of
that's what
February.
it's literally like 6 days after Samsung's unpacked that they
Hmm.
would do. But yeah, so okay, I will have to wait, and hopefully the rumors are very badly elaborated.
I
Uh,
I don't see the thing that's really upsetting to me
See, I don't
is
know
when
if
we look
Qualcomm
at
would wanna like why would Qualcomm be even you know what I mean? Like I mean if it's a Samsung fab, so that are we talking custom SoC, like custom, not just overclocked 8 Gen 2?
the if these were people and not multi-billion-dollar corporations,
Uh-huh.
I would apply motive. You
Yeah.
again, I always try to like preface this in my videos. Like there isn't one guy, Mr. Apple, and he makes the
Yeah.
iPhones and
There's
everything
just
and
the
makes
one
all the
guy in
decisions.
office, exactly, on
Yeah,
the 12th
that's not how
floor
any of
of the
these
building. Yeah.
companies work. But were I to treat global semiconductor industry billion-dollar corporations like they were people, if I were Qualcomm, I would say, okay, you are going to sell maybe 20 million Galaxy S series phones. It's not, that is a draw for the pool of chips that we're going to get fabbed from TSMC.
Yeah.
If you want to eat that instead and you want to fab your own, that takes pressure off of the other global supply for
Mhm.
the 20 to 30 million phones that Vivo and iQOO are going to
iQOO's
sell,
already shipped,
and the
which
15
yeah.
million phones that Xiaomi are going to
Mhm.
sell. So go ahead and take that and make your own, and we can call it an 8 Gen 2. You don't have to call it an Exynos or anything fancy like
'Cause
that.
that was one of the other
And
rumors that they were going away from Exynos and Qualcomm was gonna be the default SoC for everything.
but
But
it's Qualcomm, but not fabbed from TSMC.
TSMC, it's going back to Samsung that was like they
So
left I don't know. I don't know, man.
so
Okay.
I'm really anxious because what we saw from the 8 Gen 1,
Mhm.
especially with the sort of year over year gains for things like GPU performance, again, from 8 Gen 1 to 8 Gen 2, we see a pretty significant bump in some of those numbers.
Mhm.
And TSMC's fabrication is mature and it's solid.
It's
And
on point, yeah.
I mean, you've started digging into the iQOO 11. I've been running this thing pretty hard.
Oh, I
It is
know.
such a
I've had it literally a day and a half,
wonderful.
like not that long. Yeah, exactly.
You just got it.
Well, I just got it. Yeah.
But it has been a really wonderful step in the right direction after the 8 Gen 1 to the 8 Plus Gen 1.
Yeah.
So this is, again, another weak year. I went back and today I tried just looking up, like, obviously, I don't have very fond feelings for Samsung anymore. I used to be a
Mhm.
diehard Samsung Knight, but lately I feel like they've really struggled to get the job done. They don't really deserve being the de facto option for Android phones in North America. I don't
Mhm.
think Samsung's success has helped the Android ecosystem. And Yeah, I'm looking through and you're like, we got all those early stories right at the beginning of the year. Galaxy S22, it's going to break these sales records. And man, we pre-ordered more S22s than any other Samsung phone in the first week of this sort of launch cycle. And they missed all of their expectations. They wanted to move 30 million Galaxy S total. They had to bump that down to somewhere just under 25 million. Just under 25 million puts it at the last year of the iPhone SE all by itself.
Oh, wow.
All of the Galaxy S phones combined sold about the same as one of the least popular iPhones available.
Well, even the least, yeah, exactly. The smallest form factor, the phone that basically comes out once every 2 years.
And that we won't get another, like they're not refreshing the SE this next year. And I just wanted to put this into further context. Everything was kind of weak at Samsung this year. They had to bump down their yearly global sales twice. Originally saying like we're going to move 300 million phones over 2022. They bumped that down to somewhere around, I think they said 275. So they cut it by 25 million and then they still couldn't hit that expectation either. So Samsung's continued sort of weakening in the premium tier is hurting Android premium tier in total. And really, we haven't seen Samsung operating on all cylinders. Sorry, I'll shut up here in just a sec. We haven't seen Samsung really operating on all cylinders since the S10. The S10 was the last peak year for Samsung really kicking ass. That doesn't exist anymore, and we've seen sales plummet like 40 to 45% since the year of the S10. And they keep pulling these moves. I don't know if you saw the leak today. Like the new S23 looks like it's basically just a clone of an iPhone 14.
Oh, iPhone. Okay, so for the leaks I have actually seen, for the most part, it's supposed to look exactly like this guy. It's supposed to look like exactly like the S22. Like come on.
Only they're now going to flat screen, flat sides, and that kind of rounded rectangular look that the iPhone has.
Flat screens? On a Note? I'm sorry.
No, on the
S20.
I mean,
the non Ultra. You mean the standard variant? I know.
I think all three might start getting them because I don't know that we're going to get a Note replacement in 2023. The rumor, again, this is all rumors, speculation.
No,
leaks,
absolutely. I
was
just assuming that the S23 Ultra is going to be the Note 23 Ultra, just called an S again. Like they're going to just go back to that.
Like they did the 21, it might be an S Pen-less phone as
with
the
an S Pen
Ultra
option, with an S Pen option.
And you can go every other year for the Note fans. I don't know what Samsung's doing. If you just have a Note and an Ultra, then you've got all of your bases covered. But they're playing games with the names of their products. And I think it's just going to lead to more consumer confusion. But regardless,
hence why so
S20,
many rumors and so many conversations going on.
I mean, but so far, the S23 and the S23 Plus look like they're just going to be iPhone 14 clones at this point. Yeah.
So welcome to iPhone 14. I mean, sorry, Samsung 14. Well, I'll say this. Today is the 12th. Tomorrow is Friday the 13th. So for everybody that feels unlucky, we are literally weeks away from what could be a very interesting start of the busy season. February looks like it's going to be a very busy month. At least from where I'm seeing, we're OnePlus, and we have obviously Samsung coming in at the beginning. There's rumors also, since we're starting to throw rumors around, that the Xiaomi 13 Pro and 13 are going to be launched at MWC. So that could potentially be also another nice Gen 2 kind of a conversation going on. So a lot of things already coming up, and
for sure,
we'll have to see. I don't. So I'll be honest with you. I haven't really been keeping up too much with the Samsung rumor mill. This week has been kind of a little bit of a fog for me ever since I've been back.
I think the only reason why it kind of popped up on me was like over the day before yesterday and yesterday, everyone was out there with their pre-order your Samsung affiliate links. Buy from my affiliate link to pre-order your Samsung and save $10, and I'll give you a hearty handshake.
No. Speaking of which, there's something to be said also about that. So I'll full disclosure, I have my own, and I do typically do affiliate stuff, but that's not what I want to talk. The pre-ordering process this year is very weird.
Oh, really?
Typically, when you pre-order and when you reserve, they typically give you $100 to $200 worth of credit towards your pre-order. This year, according to the site, if you go there, it basically is $50 if you want to pre-order the S23 series, and it's
Mm-hmm.
$100 if you want to do pre-order two, because it looks like there's also going to be some laptop things. It looked like at least there was 3 selections at the top in the pre-selection option. So the only way to get $100 off is if you pre-order 2 things, which probably means you're paying close to $2,500, if not more, to get $100 off. So Samsung, I
Okay.
which I'm almost tempted to think and say that I feel like trade-ins are also going to be hurting this year. So this
Yeah.
this hope
I
of
mean,
being
the
able to
trade-ins were
snag,
just okay last year. Like they were
they were
good, but they weren't
they
as
were
good as in years past.
they were good for the first few days only. Like when we did it on the if you remember the Z Flip and the Fold
Yeah.
trade-ins, right? They made a mistake initially, and they made people that bought the Flip 3, the standard edition, get like a $900, which is worth more
Yeah.
than what the phone would have been even
For
regardless.
sure. Yeah.
And it's the same thing was on the Fold. They were given $1,000 for the first few days, but then right after the initial kind of like couple of days, they dipped it to 900 and even lower later on for trading in the Z Fold 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to see that level of experience in there, which I feel like it's going to hurt them more because they got people used to in that, in that fashion of like, oh, I always got the best deals when I go to Samsung. And then if they go to
Yeah.
Samsung on day, with the S23 series, and it's, you get $50 for registering in advance, which is not
I
bad. I mean, it's
know,
a free
right?
case,
Sure,
but you
but
know what I mean?
that's not enough to keep someone hooked in, and it feels like Samsung has gotten kind of weak about
And I'm wondering how
kind
they're
of
going to do
driving
their
that.
the storage tier configuration,
Yeah.
because last year they were pretty big on pushing up free upgrades to get people to basically
Hmm.
buy higher storage phones. So therefore, when you upgrade again, you can't go down the down storage because you were like, well, I don't want to
Yeah.
buy in 128. I've been living the 256 life. Long story short, it's going to be a confusing beginning of February. I'm hoping that as we get through February, OnePlus hits it out of the park. I mean, we already know a lot of stuff about the OnePlus 7. It's not like it's very hidden. The phone launched. We're just going to get an international variant version of it. And I'm really hoping that Xiaomi does a really good job also with the 13 and the 13 Pro. Again, they've
Hmm.
been doing great in the Chinese market. So I just want to see how the Agent 2 has been performing on different hardware. And the
Yes.
fact that I got a chance to play with it now, I'm really super stoked. Like I was seriously,
So you've I mean, because let's talk about iQOO here for a second,
sure.
because iQOO
This is my
is
first
doing
iQOO.
something.
This is my
Is this
first.
your legit your first?
Legit. Well, no, I'll take that back. I borrowed yours last time, which is the
Oh,
M9
that's right.
Pro, right?
Yeah.
No, wait, I got it from you. I think you lent it to
This one.
Scoop, and I got it from Scoop, or did I get it from Barry? It was either Scoop or Barry. No. Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, they all look this.
Yeah.
It's the BMW. I borrowed that one from you for a short amount of
Hmm.
time after, I think it was either Barry or Scoop was using it. I forgot which one. I think it was
Sure.
Barry. I'm pretty sure it was Barry. Um,
But this is the first one you've really gotten to just kind of live with,
yeah,
set
this,
it up on your own, and do that thing. Yeah.
yeah, and it also, because it's also the first Agent 2. You mean, I feel always weird. Like I go to launch events and so on when they announce hardware. Like Qualcomm talks about, like, it shows us all this great things that we could do. And of course, it's how fast can you start playing with that tech? It's typically,
Yeah.
a month or two, or whatever. So you get the opportunity to play with it a little earlier. I got to play with the Gen 2 version of the Vivo X90 Pro Plus for about a day, literally 24
Yeah.
hours at CES, which thank you again to Edabong from Board at Work for his generous allotment of time of letting me borrow it, because I did not expect he was going to just like, hey, you go, let me reset it, go play with it, give it back to me before you go
And I
home, kind
love
of
you
thing.
like a brother, but if I had been in Vegas with the Vivo X90 Pro Plus, I would have been like, "Hey TK, from my cold dead hands,
Yeah,
will I
I
give
know.
you this
I
phone?"
wouldn't even. No, with you, I would not even ask. I would like not even. Like I've known this guy for years. Every time we've talked, and I've always said, "Hey, man, at some point I want to be able to borrow the 12S Ultra." I realize there is a. I'll say this. I realize there's a certain amount of time for whenever you get a piece of tech that you're really excited for, and I got very excited for the
Hmm.
X90 Pro Plus. But the thing about it is the X90 Pro Plus is not international. The 3 variant of the X90 that I got a chance to even go briefly hands on were basically China models 2
Yeah, for sure.
with the Dimensity 9200, which is absolutely fantastic to see hardware, flagship level hardware, because the X90 Pro and the X90 Pro Plus both share the same main sensor. So you get
Yeah,
that 1-inch type sensor on both, although the secondary sensor story kind of changes.
sure.
You get the same main flavor. Um, but yeah, it's things that I haven't typically worked with. I had to basically, for the lack of a better word, kind of like, bamboozle you out of the X70. The X70 Pro
Yeah.
Plus, by the way, the X70 Pro Plus for me, freaking amazing. Like
It's
seriously,
so good.
so good.
So
2022,
good.
2023, still the phone I rock
So
to shoot all my
I
content.
want to kind of catch up here though, because
Sure.
what are some of the first things that you've done? You've got an iQOO 11. I
Hmm.
feel like the iQOO 11 is going to help us set the stage for a new entry premium. I hate the word flagship. No one should ever use the word flagship to compare different manufacturers' phones.
Okay.
The only thing flagship means is the best phone a company makes. It is the flagship of that brand. If you're
For
going
the
to
year, yeah.
compare phones, we need to talk about like pricing tiers. And we
Hmm.
need to talk about what the function of the phone is. Like, if you want a phone that has a stylus, that is a different conversation than a phone that has the bestest cameras.
Exactly.
So, I feel the iQOO 11 is now, because it's not a Pro. It's
No,
not the
no.
iQOO
There
11
is
Pro.
a
That's
pro. Yeah,
China,
there is a
China
pro. That's
only.
only. Yeah, exactly.
So this is now what I feel is sort of setting a new stage for starter premium. This is significantly nicer than a mid-ranger. It
Hmm.
is absolutely not a flagship killer, and it's too expensive to be a flagship killer. But it does have some of those compromises that keep it from being sort of a higher premium or ultra tier device.
Hmm.
And so I feel like this is the new sort of starting phone that kicks us into the lowest level of premium, but that's still a $600 to $700 device. That is not cheap, but
No,
it's not
no.
800, 900, maybe $1,000. It's kind of like the transition. We've gone from mid-rangers and gaming phones and flagship killers. The iQOO 11 starts us off at what a more luxury premium phone should resemble. So you got it. It's got crazy specs. It's got all the specs. You put your account in there, and the first thing you do on it is
Well, install games, obviously, but no. No, I obviously it's Geekbench, man. Come on, you install Geekbench
the
first.
only thing you do on phones is just run
It's
Geekbench all day long, right?
absolutely. I ran it in 4 different modes. No, actually, first thing I did with this is because the Vivos that I got a chance to play with were running Origin OS, so they weren't running the what's it called, FunTouch OS that
Fun
you're
Touch,
used to
yeah.
seeing. So where this one does, so there was that factor also
Tell
kind
me,
of getting
Fun
used to.
Touch has now become like the least fun skin. It's
It's
like the least animated, it's the least bouncy, and it
I
looks
feel
a
like
lot
color.
like Android
I feel like
11. It's
I was gonna
hilarious.
say Color OS and Oxygen OS are a little bit more fun touch E than fun touch the way fun touch. I don't know.
Sure.
Too many. How many times can we say fun touch in one conversation? But yeah, to Gabrielle's comment, absolutely. Geekbench and N22 are the first things you install
That's
with
the
any phone.
only things worth running on a phone. I
And if they
mean,
don't give you
you
good
just sit
scores,
there
you just
and
shut it down and put it back in the box.
you
Um,
just look at the numbers on the screen and you go, I feel gratified.
for me, honestly, the first thing I wanted to do with this is I wanted to take out and test out the cameras. Unfortunately, when I last night when I got it, I didn't get a chance. There wasn't enough light. Today we had some good light, so I was able to take a few shots. But
Yeah.
what happened is because I took last week off and I came back to work this week, there was just a lot of work backed up on my end. So this week, when I said it was kind of a fog for me, I haven't been catching up a lot of things. It's just been a lot of day job, kind of getting into the new year and getting back into the whole cycle of things. I haven't used Geekbench for a couple of years.
Yeah, tech for your needs.
Tech
It's
for your
like
needs. I don't
you're correct
uh,
there. I
I
like using Geekbench to show how it doesn't reflect real world performance at all. So
I
look at
for
this
me
big number.
it is big. It is definitely. But then also I love the fact that they have some optimizations done specifically for monster mode. Like it's easy to access monster mode where it's not
Yeah.
hidden within the menu. Like I've seen that at least with Oppo and with OnePlus, where you have to go into the battery setting to turn on performance mode. Here, it's seriously just a swipe to the right. You turn on monster mode if you want to turn it
Yep.
on. It's exactly what you think monster mode would be on a phone. Um, Overall UI, everything, you're right. It is very clean, very minimalistic, super fast, super responsive, flat display as you'd imagine you'd want to get it on a phone. Like I said, I haven't really put it through its paces yet as far as overall performance because it caught me off guard. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't expect it. I honestly
it just
thought I
showed
was
up in
going
the
to
mail
be
for you.
yeah.
Surprise!
The dude knocks on the door and is like, from DHL, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not expecting a DHL
Have
package.
anything
And then I was like,
DHL?
oh, looky here, like, well, how you doing? So I
So
felt like I was gonna like Happy New Year right there.
I have to say, I mean, because it's not that I'm knocking the S23 for having a flat screen. I'm actually really happy to be going back to a flat screen. One of the things that I
No,
go ahead.
I was gonna say
No, after you, I insist.
Gamers insist on flat screens because of the false touch and because of the performance on them. You
Yes.
get a much better, more consistent experience
Any
across.
UI elements that go out to the edges, your touch is less precise. And have you fired up LumaFusion on?
No,
This is
not,
so silly. This is ridiculous.
not on this one.
Okay, you're gonna love this because it's got a flat screen. The render button. So you go to hit render, and it's got all these little iPhone elements because LumaFusion started out on the iPhone. And so then you say, okay, I want to render it. I want it to go to my media folder. That's not a thing on Android, but sure, send it to my media folder because iPhone. And then on any curved glass, the final little render button always ends up on the edge of the curve. And it's like 2 or 3 presses before it'll recognize. And the flat screen on the iQOO, perfect.
Gets it in.
Perfect. And so anytime you have gaming elements or UI elements, if you're working on a spreadsheet, oh my gosh, this is great. And so one of the things that I think is going to be really interesting to see are the companies like, we obviously, the OnePlus 11 is being teased, and there isn't a OnePlus 11 Pro that we know of. The iQOO 11 that we've got in our hands right now is not the Pro. There is a Pro that's available in China, but this is sort of blurring the lines between a number phone and a T-series phone. And so if we get a few more phones like this, we compromise on a few of the nicer things, like we don't have the massive ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, we don't have some of the nicer camera sensors, but this is still the 1440p 144 hertz panel. So it's not just flat screen, oh, you got the cheap 1080p version. This is the nicer, brighter, faster screen. They just didn't curve the sides of it. So things like that, I think,
and you may have an edge.
It's so nice. I mean, again, I'm purposely like trying to derail our podcast here, bringing up that GameSir, but popping that in, not having those warped reflections on the top and bottom of your screen, it fits in perfectly. The thermoelectric cooler lines up right where you think it should. The 8 Gen 2 is already a better performing SoC than the 8 Gen 1, but then you can add a little extra cooling to it. The gaming has been phenomenal. The content creation has been phenomenal. I wish we had some of those other lifestyle features. The 9 Pro's fingerprint sensor is still magic, amazing to me.
So that was the thing. I honestly thought this was going to be on here till I turned it on. I'm remembering the 9 Pro because that was like a crazy fingerprint sensor. Like literally, they were using the next generation, the sensor that we saw back in 2019. It's not a new technology. We've seen this. Qualcomm has it before. They released it, but nobody uses it. And it like you could put your finger anywhere in that cube and you can unlock the phone and you can launch. So nice. You had the custom launcher functionalities in there with different options. So to me, I'll say that I was expecting that here, but it didn't take too much away from me from the experience. You're right. It does feel more like a T-series approach from when I mean, just from the initial kind of impressions, but I will say it is 144 and it is QHD. You cannot knock the fact that it's running with the technology.
This is the nicest screen.
This is for gamers. Yeah, it's shooting for gamers for sure. Definitely.
But this is absolutely, I think, the best screen currently on a phone today. Yeah. I'm really struggling to think because like so many of these.
The Red Magic, was it?
Red Magic 8?
8? Oh yeah, so the new Red Magic that's coming out, they've been teasing it out. So there's possibility, obviously, the Red Magic may, but I don't think Red Magic will leave the 1080p resolution.
No,
I think Red Magic is their bread and butter is 1080p. If they go to 165, it'll still be there. But I think it's the 1080p.
I can't think of anyone else who's doing high refresh rate, quad HD, and flat front face. I'm really trying to think, and I can't. Someone please correct me. I know there has to be one other phone out there that's doing all that.
Was the Was the F4 GT flat or is it curved edges? The Poco
No,
that
it's
we got
flat,
last
but it's
year.
1080p.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was 1080p. No, yeah, you're right. I don't think anybody's jumping in at QHD 144. Everybody's staying at 1080p, and QHD for the most part, even with Samsung and most will stay at 120. OnePlus last year had it at 120, and
Yep.
Oppo stayed to 120. I think
Yep.
for the most part, yeah, you're right. QHD has been stuck to
I,
120
I
for a while.
I love this idea. Just because we have this nicer OLED that can bend, iQOO is sourcing these really awesome OLEDs, but they're not bending the frame on the numbered phone.
I like
So
that.
Simon says, Hypno, I just want to say thanks for kind of giving me the shout here. When you start to really dig into this, TK, I'll be curious to see your thoughts too. But I did a
I
write-up
know. I
on
saw
the
the comment the
iQOO
moment
11.
he's like, yeah, Juan puts it down like it was not timed. By the way, Simon, it
I,
absolutely had no. It was
it was
pure
hilarious that that's the way it worked
sun,
out.
planets. Yeah, I didn't know it was showing up yesterday. I didn't know it was going to put out a reel on it today and stuff like that. Seriously, I mean, obviously, I told Juan when I got it because I was really excited, uh, but that was the extent of it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I will say it's exciting. Yeah,
So
the camera
I didn't
samples are
do
really good
like
so
one of
far.
my 40-minute long camera deep dive videos, but there was still
Creepy
enough there
tunnel
that
videos. Yeah,
I did a longer, yeah, right? I need to
yeah,
do
yeah.
a revisit of the creepy tunnel soon. But I did do sort of a camera review and as a written piece
Mhm.
on the Patreon. And I think you're also going to be, I think you're going to be tickled by the absolute pure horsepower of what the phone can do.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with class leading camera sensors. The main camera sensor is a good sensor. It's a 1 over 1.57 inch type sensor.
Mhm.
But that's kind of just a normal sensor. Like you can get that on a $300 Poco. Like that's not. Actually, I think I have a Redmi that has the same
It's the
size
same
sensor.
sensor.
It's not a mind blowing piece of camera slab anymore.
It's what
But
they do with it. That's the thing.
when you tax that V2 with some really really dark photography, obviously the Vivo is going to outperform it. The Vivo X series phones are going to outperform it for those larger sensors. But with
Beautiful,
the
beautiful low light. I
it's
cannot
so good.
explain how good that phone was. I mean, I went to the Samsung booth
It's
and I
nuts.
was looking at their monitor with the RGB in the dark. It was everything was dark, and you would really need a good camera and a very good sensor to be able to capture that color.
Hmm.
It was butter. Oh my God, I had a hard time returning that phone. I mean, if E wasn't bigger than me, I really like maybe even
I
tried.
keep forgetting, like just from watching his videos, like, oh yeah, he's like a foot taller than I am. But
I was like, yeah, you meet E, you're like, hey, what up, bud? Yeah, no, I
but
know.
there's something kind of magical about
Yeah.
taking what you know is sort of a step down in terms of optical camera technology, and you're pulling off nighttime shots that dramatically outperform Pixel 7 Pros.
It's
Pixel 7 Night
it's crazy
Sight
that
is
the V2.
excellent. It is so
Yeah.
good. And then I take out this iQOO 11 with a significantly smaller main camera sensor, and in half the time that you have to hold steady for your nighttime shot, it produces a brighter, more color accurate, and better dynamic range. So I love this one setup that I've got where the hills in my neighborhood get like scary dark at night. You
Mhm.
don't want to walk around by yourself at night, and I have to do nighttime photography shots, and I'm
I'll
creeped
try
out.
never to visit you at night, but yes, no, thank you.
You
Yeah.
shouldn't. No, I'm serious. It's kind of a safety hazard. I'm doing dumb, dangerous stuff for my YouTube channel. But there's this one house where it's like the trees help block what little street lighting we have.
Okay.
And like to your eye, it's like this is super dark. It's like almost blackout dark.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so if there are any lights on in any of the windows, any other phone but a Vivo blows out those windows. So you can't see that there's anything there. It's
Yep.
only Vivos and iQOOs that dramatically brighten and correctly get the color, which is astounding to me. But then they'll paint in the HDR details of like the curtains with the lights going behind them and like,
Mhm.
oh, well, there's a bookcase and you can actually see books on the bookcase. It's not just a blown out light source. And again, it's computational photography has absolutely wrecked the point and shoot camera market.
Hmm.
It's starting to eat into entry-level mirrorless cameras. Your phones
Oh
are
yeah.
getting that good. Now, the computational processing of a little coprocessor in this like $650 phone is starting to catch a smaller sensor up to what we would expect from like a $7, $8, $900 more premium, more expensive device. And
Oh,
again, it's
absolutely.
like we can see that sliding scale of software and processing start impacting other phones. Like if you can do this with a less expensive phone, obviously it's going to get better if you can attach a better sensor to it. That's
Oh, of
that's a
course.
no-brainer. The
Yeah, yeah.
X series is handily going to outperform an iQOO, but that iQOO is hanging with like iPhone 14 Pros and Pixel 7 Pros with a distinct sensor disadvantage. And that again, you're going to play with that. You're going to go out, take a couple low light shots, and you're like, yeah, you know what this feels like because you've been playing with an X70 Pro Plus.
Yeah, I was gonna like it.
It's
I
not
feel
that
like
far behind.
I'm back at CES, and I need to go back to some really low light, badly lit
Yeah.
environments, which always like my God, whoever designs these things at these shows seriously needs to be either fired or just get into a room and sit down with a couple of people and say, look, blue light makes no sense. Orange light makes no sense. You want good photos. You want people to take good content off of what you're showing on the show floor. Give us
I
some decent
know.
light.
It's so bad.
It's crazy, but no, but
It's
seriously,
so
with
bad.
the reason why I choose the X70 Pro Plus because of that function. And this, I mean, this X70 doesn't have the V2. I got really pampered last year as well with the Mari Silicon X with Oppo, but I
Hmm.
feel like even at that, I feel like the V2 is way better. Like it's much more stable in especially in video content. I felt like
Yeah.
the Mari Silicon X did really well in capturing images. I was able to do really good stuff with the images on the Find X5 Pro. Video did well, but I still felt like the Vivo X70 Pro Plus did better. Like that was
For
the
sure.
weird, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
covered CES 2 years now in a row with the same phone. Actually, same exact phone, just different stages of when having. Like now, it's actually
Right.
at its home, at its forever home. Last year was more like, hey, TK, you can borrow it for this few weeks, kind of thing. But it, for anybody that's listening, if you have never tried a Vivo X series from the 70, I would even say from the 60 up, but the
Yeah.
70 for me, because that's where I kind of, because I felt like this is when they changed. The X50 was more, they were trying to shoot for that whole gimmicky, gimbally, run with your phone kind of thing.
Yeah.
But something changed at the X60 series. The 70 did better. The 70 Pro Plus out of the park. The X80 came out, and you have the X80 Pro.
Hmm.
There's the X90 Pro Plus and X90 and all the other ones. Yeah, absolutely. These are monster
Focus.
performing. See,
That's
Nvidia
not
would
going to
like,
focus.
no.
I'm going to say
It's the
Panasonic
reflective.
isn't.
Cover
Yeah.
cover the top reflective part. That's come on.
Come on,
Yeah, see?
Panasonic. You can
Yeah,
do it.
right there. It's the reflective because it's reflecting the monitor and it's trying to focus on your monitor through the glass.
There
But
we
yeah,
go.
yeah, with the Zeiss optics, man, it is beautiful. So
So I
yeah.
think you need to get out there, and because you were saying, you're like, oh, well, it was kind of dark and I didn't want to do like a thing. You're like, actually, out of all of my shooting scenarios, like the daylight shots are good. I think Vivo and iQOO definitely push into territory that's a little too bright.
Mhm.
That their style of HDR processing is kind of like aggressive shadow lifting and maximizing brightness in every conceivable scene.
So
And I
this is one
regularly,
of the first. You can't really
yeah,
even see it. Like it's really
I
not that.
know,
Yeah,
but I
it's
know exact because it turns that rose into like electric sherbet,
a little.
and then
Yeah,
you're like,
and
oh wow.
I even took a
But
picture
but
of a tiny bee that was on the
I feel
ground.
like from their era of, hey, we're the crazy gimbal stabilizing company, to now, I think they've actually found a better footing with aggressive HDR and
Mhm.
crazy computational low light photography.
I like
And
that.
that's where I think Vivo has carved out a strong niche, and it's completely different. It is a
Yeah.
totally different flavor than Oppo and OnePlus.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
the
They don't
two
even
are
feel like this.
cousins.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
distant cousins from like
yeah,
it's hard to
increasingly
believe they're
distant
related.
cousins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when you think of the fact that they fall under the same umbrella and that maybe some parts may get mixed up in the supply chain, it's hard to tell that they're even related. Let's just say that in that
yeah,
experience, Vivo and iQOO stand very different than Oppo, OnePlus, and Realme, and as far as as far as hardware. and they all offer different experiences. I feel like Oppo's focused more on experimental and more new features type. Like, we had the periscope camera, the microscope camera, like what's it on the Find X3 Pro, the Find X5 Pro went over to the Mars Silicon X, the new, and then we're going to see also, I mean, hopefully that the 6 will have the Mars Silicon Y, which is what excites me also on the audio side. Improvements in custom audio processing, not just custom video processing with the Mars Silicon. So maybe that's something we'll also see on Oppo at some point. And then I'm also seeing some rumors saying that Oppo is also going to be jumping into the not Oppo, Vivo is going to be jumping into the Flip, but not looking nothing like the Find N2 Flip, which at some point I'm assuming is going to get launched. I don't have any word on that, but more and more rumors are saying, I see posts saying it's passing the FCC, it's passing this, blah, blah, blah. So there's some chatter. It's coming out. It's hopefully soon. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do.
For sure. So Simon Says Hypno saying battery life on the iQOO 11. And again, I always have to put the huge asterisk that I don't get proper 5G support, but I've been getting pretty decent LTE.
4G LTE is the best we can get, yeah.
One of the other things that's exciting is the V2 coprocessor that we've been praising for all of its camera tech is also one of the driving forces behind how the phone operates for high refresh on the display. And so my battery life experiences have been really good. I don't know how this would operate.
Is it set to 144 out of the box, or do you have to turn that on? I forgot to check that.
I don't even. I think they set it to 144 Quad HD out of the box, and I think they're confident that the V2 is helping take some of the load off of the SoC for driving the display. They don't play that game that Samsung plays, where it sort of detunes your screen for better battery life. The iQOO's just like, yeah, go do it.
You want crazy fast? We'll give you crazy fast. What do you want?
So, I mean, you haven't messed with any of those settings. Like, if you go into your display settings, is it Quad HD 144?
So for me, it looked like it was running at 1080p with Smart Switch. So it was smart refresh rate on it. But the good thing is that you mentioned it, because I typically do turn those all the way to 120. Like with any of the phones that support it, if you have a roughly 5,000 milliamp battery, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to have a solid full day with QHD and 120 or whatever the highest refresh rate, because you need to be able to enjoy this phone. And if you can't enjoy it for a whole day, then something is up. So for me, it didn't have it on, but I also know that, Samsung does that automatically, never says anything. They put even their Ultra, it runs in throttled mode on 1080p at 60 frames per second. Or sometimes they'll put it as smart. But the thing that frustrates me is like the knowledge that people don't, like, you know what I mean? Like they have a fast car, but they don't know that the car is running at a quarter, or, like 1/3 less power.
It's like, you have that one friend. We all have that one friend who went out and like put a really nice GPU in his gaming PC, but then connected his monitor to the
VGA port.
Exactly. That was built into the motherboard.
No, yeah, but it's always frustrating. Like, I think for me, it's like the race for how fast and how things, you have to do it right, but you also need to build it with an understanding of, if you're going to build something that runs this fast, you need to give it enough juice. Don't cripple the experience down. The Samsung's approach to the Fold 4 this year, or last year, I keep calling this year, was very surprising. Like, they went with the better processor. They went with the 8 Plus Gen 1. They didn't go with the 8 Gen 1. So they went with a faster processor. But not only was it throttled, it was throttled without the ability. They took away the option to be able to go full force.
To crank it up.
Yeah, which we still have, I think, even on the S21 Ultra. So, or the S22 Ultra. So for me, the frustrating effect is again, people would just not know. And what ended up happening to me is, like, I've gone to different places, and let's say I'm trying to do a comparison between things, that like, there's no comparison. This is really meant to be a very tailored experience. Samsung doesn't want this phone to warm up in any shape, way, or form. The adaptive charging that we have in here is very much a slow charging technology, and you're not even getting a 5,000 milliampere. And then you get, Oppo coming in and saying, "Look, hold my beer. Let me show you how it's supposed to be done."
Right.
66 watt charging, 120 hertz refresh rate on the inside and the external display, pen input support. I'm waiting for Oppo. I've been bugging them. I want them to send me the pen. I want the pen for the Find N2
Right.
Fold, the Find N2, because this has to happen, and I need to see how cool this stuff is. So yeah,
For sure.
it's like, it's crazy. I know we're not in February, but I'm really excited. I mean, CES was great, but February looks like it's going to be bonkers. Like seriously, crazy competition, almost from everybody. You know,
Yeah.
and
And
I wouldn't be
especially
surprised if
like
Vivo has something somewhere going on somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised. It's, you know what I mean? Like
the
at some point
the
we're going to
hope
hear something.
is, I mean, because again, I think one of the few things that's kept me from like rushing and throwing money at like GizTop to get that X90 has
Yeah.
been I've been getting to spend some quality time with this iQOO, and that's helped kind of scratch that itch. But if we
Yeah.
don't get some news on an international release for the X90 Pro Plus, I might just have to sacrifice
Well,
some budget early to get that
the
phone.
other thing that I'm also hearing some rumors is that possibly that even though the Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro are going to be launched at MWC, we may
Hmm.
hear about the 13 Ultra. So hopefully,
Sure.
whatever
Yeah.
the successor to what you have from last year with
Hmm.
the 12S Ultra, that may be something being talked about, because I still have my 11 Ultra, and I feel like that's still a very good, like with Android 13. We finally got the video feed to the rear display that we didn't have before, so it's still definitely a camera system that you could still use nowadays and still enjoy it. But I want
Yeah.
to see what they're able to do with more of that 1 inch type sensors on these
Hmm.
smartphones. And the 13 Ultra is going to be crazy whenever that comes out. But
You
I
know,
know I'm like talking vaporware, but I'd love
I
to hear
know,
more.
and this is all just like the rumors and speculation podcast, but it's also just been kind of interesting because like the rumors on that really seem to be pointing more towards, hey, the 1 inch sensor is that's like the point of that phone, but the companion sensors were going to be getting better, and the
Oh man.
telephoto especially was going to be a big focus. But yeah, we've got a lot that I think is going to hit before MWC, so
Yeah.
that then people have stuff to show. I mean, like we
At
know
at
about it, but then you
MWC.
get
Yeah,
all your
exactly.
hands on at MWC. I think it's
And I
going to
think
be a
that's what's
little
going
bit
to be.
different year for a lot of like, we're not going to do secretive pre-briefs. We're actually going to announce early, but then use MWC as a way to get like, you know, these products in people's hands to kind of play with and to
Well,
showcase.
I mean, Google did it very well last year. They jump started and circumvented all the leaks. At I/O, they're like, "This is what the 7 Pro is going to look like." Okay,
Yeah,
this is what the watch is going to look
here it
like.
is.
We got it. There's no, you don't have to speculate. We know what it is. It's there.
For sure.
And I think I think if we can jump into that, not that I don't enjoy leaks and rumors, and I don't enjoy the drama every once in a while, but at the end of the
Hmm.
day, like the Samsung rumors from what you're saying today, like really, like like they're going
It's
crazy, because
concerning.
you know it is, and we're weeks away, which means decisions have been made, and things have been done. This could be either confirmed or basically wildly like, oh my god, what happened? Um, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. And if they do end up doing an overclocked version, my hope is that they're able to elevate their technology and their process to mimic to what TSMC is doing, and that they were able to get something a la TSMC flavor, but made by Samsung, if Samsung's going to be doing it, because it's only going to hurt them if they get rid of the Exynos, which was already performing badly in the European market and overheating and
Yeah.
slowing down. And then the next thing they end up doing is they start messing with the one thing that's been working for them, that they have no
Hmm.
control over, but that's been working over them, right?
Well,
So
and it just kind of sucks because like they also sort of dragged AMD. So
yeah,
Samsung did that huge like partner, hey, AMD graphics coming to an Exynos. Isn't this going to be great? And it really wasn't. And then I feel like that was a part of sort of souring the relationship that Samsung Foundries has with AMD. So AMD has basically cut like a whole bunch of their chiplet orders below, I want to say like 10 nanometers. So
oh wow,
like tech from like 4 years ago, and AMD
yeah,
saying like, we don't think you can get it done. We're gonna,
it's
you can still make some of those other like parts and pieces that don't require that kind of technical skill to accomplish, but no, we're sort of done with that for you
yeah,
for the nicer stuff. It's fascinating to see like how all of that really hasn't been going Samsung's way for a couple of years now. And again, I'm kind of poking fun at the rest of our side of this as an industry, less the hobbyist side, but more the I have to make money on YouTube side. We're seeing the same cycle start up all over again. Samsung Unpacked is coming, S23. I can't wait for all the headlines, and this is
I
going to
totally
be
forgot
like
about
a
Unpacked, by
harvest
the way.
season and
Like,
all
I
this
didn't
stuff.
even remember it. It came out of
And
left field.
But since the S20, Samsung has not gotten that done. They've sold less year over year. They're not meeting their sales expectations. Like their average selling price over 2022 rose like 5%. I'm trying to remember these numbers from GSM Arena. They had a whole article early January breaking all the math down, but like Apple's year over year average selling price went up like 9%. Samsung's went up like 4%. And the only reason was because they were cycling more A series phones with 5G radios.
Well,
So
and then they did that whole
the
Note
average
2
selling
S
price,
series combination. They had a
the
little bit of a
average
bump in there.
selling price of an iPhone was $950 over 2022. The average selling price of a Samsung was $380.
Oh crap!
Yeah,
They had to
that's
sell
real
so
bad.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's
they
real
discontinued
bad.
the A53. They released the A53, and so I had the A53 on T-Mobile. I did that jump on demand with them, and then at the end of last year, I decided to trade that in for the N300 because I wanted to check out OnePlus's Nord for Google for not Google for T-Mobile and Metro. Um, And the guy was like, "Yeah, we don't even sell these anymore." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. They discontinued it. I happen to have the phone because I picked it up when it was around, but then, yeah, it doesn't work. It's like it's done."
And now I'm
Uh,
giving it back to you.
and no, they always ask me when I trade in my phone. They were like, "How come your phone is so pristine? How come it's so clean?" It's because when I'm done with it, it goes back in the box and it just sits there till I find
Yeah.
another phone I want to upgrade to. And typically, what will happen is if it's too much money, I upgrade to a cheap phone to carry me for an extended amount of time. Like usually, I'll go for a Revel or whatever.
Sure.
But the N300 really kind of struck my eye, and I wanted to kind of see what they did. It's a I'll say it's a
It's
good
fine.
it's a good budget phone for what it offers. You get stereo speakers, 90 hertz refresh rate, the 6 series processor. It's definitely, it meets the expectation for the price, but it is still roughly about $200, and also probably free if you get it on like a contract with an extension or a new line or something like that. So there was always good things, but which made it very fun to see the people over at OnePlus again at CES, because last year we didn't
Yeah.
get the chance to see them. There was the whole everything got canceled last minute.
Again,
So,
that
yeah.
was another one I was like kind of bummed because like, oh, that would have been cool to sort of hang out, and that OnePlus team is always fun to interact with. So
Yeah, no. They're fun. They're fun, and I can't wait to officially get the 11 in the U.S. market and availability. And I want to see how they do it with the carriers. There's probably a
yeah.
good reason to believe T-Mobile is going to be one of the few that do carry them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have to see, because I've seen that it seems like T-Mobile loves OnePlus. So there's that
Yeah.
good. That's good for me. I'm a
Well,
T-Mobile customer.
again, as like an option that seems somewhat unique because like you don't really hear about OnePlus on AT&T to any great degree, and OnePlus is sort of like an on again off again relationship with Verizon.
Yeah.
To me, it's really,
I want to say the 10
are we
Pro
going
was,
to get?
but we haven't seen a Verizon certified since the 10 Pro, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
But for me, it's really going to be, are we going to see a OnePlus 11? Because it's not an 11 Pro, it's an 11.
Yeah,
Are we
I
going to
know.
see a OnePlus 11 launch undercutting what we would expect a base model Galaxy S23 to launch? If it launches in this $700-ish price point, it's somewhere in between a Pixel 7 and a Pixel 7 Pro, and it's under an iPhone 14, and it's under a Galaxy S23.
Because it's rumored to
if
be
what we
somewhere
see,
around $900 for the 23, if what I saw. Yeah, that I
be,
did see.
well, but again, that's if we see, a phone that competes well against, because again, I'm basing this on the iQOO. Again, we're speculating and doing the rumors
absolutely,
and everything else here,
absolutely.
too.
None of the things we're saying here should be taken in any shape or form seriously, other than
But
for
playing
entertainment
with
purposes.
the cousin phone, the iQOO 11, if that's where it lands, that is a a wonderful mainstream nice option. And again, it like you pull out all the specs on what the iQOO 11 does well, and you look at how it competes against an iPhone 14 Plus, because that's really the fair size, screen size comparison. It's not the iPhone 14, it's the iPhone 14 Plus. And the iQOO 11 is better in almost every single way, minus wireless charging, for like $250 less.
Yeah.
And you're like, if
you
OnePlus plays in that space.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Well, yeah. So again, 60 hertz iPhone 14 with an A15, a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is offering a nicer performance per watt in almost every single practical application. There is no iPhone advantage for SoC design like that anymore. But you know, it has a much brighter screen at a higher resolution at 144 hertz. With 120 watt charging and a bigger battery, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Why would you spend $250 more on an iPhone 14 Plus? And again, there is no answer in Samsung's catalog. There's this gap between A series and S series where they don't have a solution for this. So if OnePlus can piggyback on what iQOO is doing and land somewhere around a $700 MSRP, which means you'll have great sales or trade-ins. There will be price cuts on that phone. You'll have an incredible monster, screamer fast phone that no other manufacturer in the United States is going to have an answer for between $600 and $700.
And I think that would be the right approach to put it. And like you said, with trade-in deals and so on, like last year, I remember with the 10 Pro, I think, if I'm not mistaken, T-Mobile was giving one for, you buy one, get one free. Like you weren't even just, you could get
But even going through OnePlus, I mean, like OnePlus offers trade-in deals. Like they're not terrible, but...
Well, no. I meant more of the exposure for the OnePlus experience right now is, at least for the US market, a big part of why they're becoming more people know of them. It's because you are able to go into a T-Mobile store, to a Best Buy, to find you will find a OnePlus at some point in the store. I'm not gonna make it sound like it's they put them front and center. No. Obviously, you got Sam Apple and then OnePlus in the back next to Pixel kind of thing. But it's the solution, at least, that you're able to have that option as a selection. The N300 was on the show floor when I went to return my A53 to pick it up. I was surprised, but it's there. So. As long as OnePlus keeps on this approach and they keep going forward with the relationship with some carriers, I mean, it doesn't have to be all, but at least some, that gets them into stores, that keeps them confers. And like you said, the price point, if they're able to price it right, to make it a very good, not to say necessarily a competitive, but an actual option that surpasses what the S23 is going to give us. Based on what we've seen last year, the S22 was a very bad approach into what they decided to do. It wasn't even a good stepping stone to the S22 Plus. It was just a bad device. I would not recommend the S22 to anybody.
Bad phone.
And I have a feeling the S23 is maybe in the same boat. So when you compare the fact that the price is going to go higher, they're giving less discounts for people to get the phone. I think we're set up for a more expensive Samsung experience.
Gabaletta has it nailed because you've got to go up against a Pixel 7. And a Pixel 7 at $600 is such a unique conversation where I'm happy to sacrifice some of the brute force CPU performance to get much better machine learning and AI performance and one of the best camera sensors that's currently on the market today for that main camera sensor.
The main camera sensor, yeah.
MSRP $600. So if OnePlus releases an 11, not an 11 Pro, and it's north of 700, I think they're going to have some difficulties. But if the starter comes in at like $699, 8 Gen 2, fast charging, high resolution screen.
Remember this, the 10T did that. They pre-sold the 16256 version of that phone at $649, the price of the 8256 or the 8128 for the longest time. And then when it did become available, you seriously could not get any better deal for what that phone offered. $650, 16 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs, not like fridge, no, gigs of RAM with UFS 3.1 storage. We're talking some of the fastest display on the charging technology on the market, 20 watt charging. You had there was a lot to say about the 10T, and it is a turbo. It's a fast phone.
Yeah.
And the 11 seems like, I feel like it's, from what I've seen, seems like it's following along.
Although,
and we
again,
may still
it's
see a
just
Pro.
like,
We don't know. They may.
I think I just got
may
like another. I got another email from like OnePlus PR, and they're like, "Yeah, hey, we're also gonna have some sales on the OnePlus 10 Pro soon."
200. Well, no, $200 off. Yeah, it's
$5.99
off. I think it's $5.99 or $6. Was it $8.99?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. They've massively slashed the pricing on the existing stock, and I think that makes perfect sense. It's still a very relevant device. I still think it's a great device for what it offers. If you're able to get the higher storage one, I would recommend don't go with the 128. 256 is the right one. But yeah, I think it makes perfect sense. Slash the pricing on this, knowing that the 11 is coming out, and start clearing up some shelves. I think this is the time to have crazy sales and get yourself some good deals on some good OnePlus devices running Android 13, because 13 is already out on the 10 Pro. The 10T is still not on 13, which is surprising. I'm surprised. I was expecting that to be on 13 by now.
Well, but it's also strange because it's out on the 9 Pro and the 8 Pro, and it's not on the 10T. So I appreciate people are a little frustrated with the 10T.
It's out on the beta channel, but it's just not on the stable channel. Let's say that. So yeah, no, it's one of those. You have to understand the development cycle and stuff. But I just, again, it's been out since September. I think that's when we saw it last, when it first came out, and we're in January. So I'll have to reach out. Maybe I can bug some of our friends over at OnePlus. It's like, hey, how about that 13?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And so Michael Corcoran also brings up a great point. Like, we're talking about $600 phones, let alone the Pixel 6a for $299 at times. I mean, it's been on sale for $300, which has similar power to the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 7, and it was MKBHD's blind test champion. It's funny that when you shoot really sort of regular, you're not really going for any kind of special composition. You just sort of shoot some basic photos, that a camera that focuses on a point and shoot style experience seems to take the best photos if you're not really being that careful with any kind of special composition and you're just going for sort of a whatever selfie. That you really shouldn't be spending more than $400 if that's the kind of style of photography that you're trying to accomplish.
And I think that's the thing. I think Google makes the argument for, bang for the buck and what they're offering. Ever since ever since the 4XL, I was looking through some of my footage because I was archiving. I found a hard drive, one of my portable SSDs from a few years ago. Pre-pandemic, that's how long ago it was. Let's just say that. I was cleaned up my bag. I think I mentioned it to you, starting in about a couple of weeks from now. I'm going to have to start going into the office. So I had to clean up my office bag. And I found a hard drive in there with some footage from my first Snapdragon Summit that I went, and I covered that with the 4XL. Like, in a lot of my footage and a lot of the videos, I was like, I had my Pixel 4XL with me there. We talked about it, like one of our favorite devices. Yeah. And so yeah, I was like, crazy, man. Like, my first Summit at Qualcomm, I mean, back then it was running a Qualcomm processor, so that's a different story, but you know what I mean? Like, it was just it's interesting. And I'll say that at CES this year, I saw the most amount of Pixel 7 Pros that I've ever seen in my life. Like, it was and it wasn't just creators. I'm talking about other people, like actual users on the show floor. Pixel 7 Pro. I think it's crazy. It's
I told you, like, I'm seeing Pixel 6s and 7s at my daughter's school. They're popping up in the wild a lot better,
way more. And I'm but I do see OnePluses every once in a while. I don't see them as often, but a Pixel is now
not nearly as often. Like, Pixels are becoming common. Yeah,
that's what it is. It's a common sight to see a Pixel, which is refreshing. I like that.
That's good.
I use the Pixel 7 Pro as my daily driver, so I mean, obviously, I would say it's definitely nice. I still haven't seen a phone find N other than in tech reviewers' hands yet.
Although there's a guy who works up at a little Chinese restaurant that has an Asus, an ROG,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I see him
I
like
missed that.
whenever there aren't customers in the shop, he's like always like loudly talking on the phone, like out in the little sort of like courtyard area. And I've walked by a couple times and I was like, that dude's got an ROG.
RG.
Holy cow!
He's
So
using
it's
some
my
of the best
first
speakers on the
real
market
world non-tech reviewer sighting of an
of an
ROG
ROG.
out in the wild.
It is refreshing to see. I will say that there's more OnePlus devices that I've seen in Europe than I've seen in US.
Yeah.
But it definitely. I'll say this: we're poised to see a lot of different approaches and different offerings around a very similar experience. I do hope that very soon, very shortly, we'll be able to get an experience the Dimensity 9200. I begged
Mm-hmm.
our friend over at MediaTek, the one that let me borrow his phone, which you probably saw in a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of different creators' posts because he was doing the rounds. I told him you got to give us some time, like at least give us some, just send it over for a couple of weeks or so. Let us play with it. Let us experience the 9200 flavor and appreciate it for what it is. Because I didn't really get a chance to spend too much. I think Simon Sesifno was asking me how was the Dimensity 9200 from a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes or so worth of playing with it and checking it out. It didn't feel any different than what I've seen, what I was expecting
Yeah.
it to be. It's fluid. And
And the
again,
thing
it
is,
felt like I was using a Vivo. It's
it's
just running Origin.
impossible to tell. Like being able to poke around a phone for like 10 minutes, I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference from an 8 Gen 2 down to like maybe even a Snapdragon 865, 855. There's so
Yeah.
little that you can really do to tax it. And that's a challenge where I feel a lot of manufacturers need to step up their consumer education, where if you're talking premium tier, $600 and above, up to 1,000, then ultra tier beyond that,
Yeah.
you really want to be having conversations with your customers about this thing does compute work.
Hmm.
This is a laptop grade computer in your pocket, and this is
Yeah.
a truck to do things on, not just, oh, I can kind of open up my Instagrams a fraction of a millisecond faster. Like, if that's really what you're doing, like, go shop in the mid-range and you'll get better battery life. If you want screamer performance and you want like that complete feel of like for me, like on the camera, and you're gonna see
Hmm.
this on the iQOO 11, you're clearing out your shot buffer so quickly compared to a Pixel. A
Yeah.
couple shots on a Pixel and it starts slowing you down
Yeah.
because
You wait
it's
for it to finish
chewing up all of
processing.
that image.
It's
Not on an
processing the image.
iQOO. No, no, it's so much faster.
I
So
gotta try it.
we,
Yeah.
we probably should start looking to kind of land this plane here, but I want to shift gears and talk about something that a Pixel can't use as well. That's a terrible segue. I've been spending a little time with this guy right here.
I saw that one last week. Yes. 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 Sorry.
You got to see it in person. You saw it in person before me, and then they shipped me one. This is the
Yeah, I know.
NexDock Wireless. So
The
this is
NexDock.
a
Yeah.
wireless. This is
Hold
a
on.
laptop dock.
Well, wait. We
So
gotta do.
oh
We
yeah
gotta
yeah
do.
yeah, that's good.
Hold on a second. Let me do this.
Ooh,
Yeah. Come on. And
there
there
we
you
go.
go. Yeah. You
So
gotta do it
so this
justice.
is a laptop dock. It's almost exactly the same form factor and shell as the NexDock 360. It's a 13-inch touchscreen with a
Yeah. And
keyboard and a
it still
trackpad.
flips all the way as well. I think.
It
Right.
flips all the way around,
That's
just
a
like our favorite yoga, flip around tablet-y kinds of laptops. Um,
yoga.
I, it's got a smartphone input and a mini HDMI input, and then it also has a memory card slot, headphone jack, and an additional USB-C accessory port.
Oh, nice.
But this one is special because Nex is adding wireless. So there's a Miracast adapter and a
Yeah.
little Bluetooth radio for not only the keyboard and trackpad, but also the touch input. So
Oh. Okay.
wirelessly to your phone, a phone that has a desktop mode like Moto Ready 4, the Honor Magic Desktop, LG Screen Plus. I think Samsung has something that can do that. I'm not sure. You probably have to
I
ask someone who uses a Samsung phone. They might have something, I don't know. But you can actually like interact with the touch screen. There's a little bit more lag when you go wireless, but it can do that. And all of this has its own built-in battery. So not only does it power the screen and the keyboard and the trackpad, but it also charges your phone if you cable connect it to the phone. So I'm going to have a video out on this, but you know, to spoil parts of that video, UPerfect, which is the main competitor in this space, also recently came out with a wireless laptop dock, which was a bit more on the pricey side. What's exciting about Nex is that they're recycling the same frame as the NexDock 360. The wireless radio is not prohibitively expensive to add on. So the NexDock 360, which is the cabled only version, sells for $299, and this is going to sell for $350. So it adds $50 if you want to, if you think, hey, wireless should be kind of a fun thing to play with. This is $100 cheaper than the UPerfect flavor of this, which is currently on sale. So
and the one thing I will also say is keep in mind that this is still all of the same functions at the original NexDock 360 with the wired connections. You can absolutely
wired or wireless.
You can go wired and you can get charging directly and use your favorite desktop experience. The wireless function is what got me really going. And specifically because he was able to demo it for me in a room filled with wireless and Bluetooth connected devices walking all over the place. If he was able to run that in the middle of that much of a wirelessly congested environment, imagine how much you should be able to enjoy this, especially when you're out and about and you maybe don't want to take your phone and have it connected. You want to basically leave it on the table and you just want to be able to do your work. It does the job and it works really, like it has the functions that you expect with the added functionality of wireless options if your system supports a wireless solution. And it doesn't wobble.
I was trying to do that thing, when you have a pen and you're like, oh, I can make it look like the pen's wobbling, only it's a laptop. It's been kind of a mission. Like I recently did that roundup looking at all the portable wearable displays. The TCL, the Rokid, and the Unreal. And I really feel like I'm becoming a broken record, but I just need more nerds to start being good ambassadors. I'm obviously talking about some specialty items and some exotic items. Putting a display on your face is kind of exotic, but I'm not blowing smoke when I say get your family and friends some kind of portable monitor. If it's a standalone portable screen, like it really is just a screen and you've got to plug it into power and it looks just like a regular desktop monitor, but it comes with its own little sleeve. If it's something like a laptop dock, that laptop dock has its own battery. It can be propped up in a tent mode, or it can be plugged into anything that operates on USB-C or HDMI. That's $299 is not prohibitively expensive for a good 1080p portable display that also has a built-in keyboard and trackpad. You can plug it into something like, and touch input, but you can plug it into something like a Nintendo Switch or a Steam Deck or a phone or a tablet, so right now, I really feel like one of the absolute best investments that you can make for a variety of gadgets that you might own is some kind of portable display. And a laptop dock is one flavor of that. A wearable display is one flavor of that. I've got a really great InnoSyn. They made an OLED. It's a gorgeous portable 15-inch OLED. And it just goes into like a little sleeve and you can put it in your backpack and it can like be a second screen to a laptop or a gorgeous screen for a Steam Deck or plug a phone into it, plug a camera into it and use it as like a field monitor. I really cannot stress this enough. If you want to get more use out of the gadgets you already own, a portable monitor of some kind is absolutely the best way to go. And personally, I lean towards laptop docks because you've got a built-in case. The laptop dock closes shut to protect the screen. It's got a battery to power, and then I traveled with this in my Steam Deck, and my daughter and my mom are playing Shredder's Revenge on my Steam Deck with Xbox controllers plugged into this 13-inch display. Like, that was great. That was an amazing Thanksgiving memory to have.
Plus the added headphone jack and memory card expansion option
Exactly.
that you don't get with any of your smartphones.
All those
Most
other
of your
things
smartphone in 2023 with the
you don't have headphone jacks and memory card slots.
They don't. Yeah, those two are exported, and then the moment you get that function added back into that laptop dock, you start appreciating that external. Like, you can store things on the dock with that external memory card, and you can listen to audio using a headphone jack a little bit more personal, not have it to be too wired, because you're going to be running wireless anyways if you want to run it that way, or if you want to run it wired. So it's such a versatile piece of tech, and it just makes it so. This is why I'm an advocate for it as well. I seriously feel like, for me, I've tried the UPerfect, but I feel like NexDock for me right now still hits that sweet spot with the price point. They're doing their due diligence, and they're trying to make it affordable. And like you said, the radios are an option, and if you don't want them, you can still get the $299.
Get the NexDock 360.
Yeah, exactly. You're not out.
So I feel like NexDock and UPerfect are dancing around each other in some really interesting ways. I feel like NexDock still has the better flavor of the traditional laptop form factor, but then UPerfect has a couple solutions, like the UPerfect 4K monitor is really nice, but like the keyboard, you don't buy it for the keyboard blade. It's got like a Surface Pro style keyboard blade with little magnetic pogo pins. Doesn't work that great, but that 4K panel is really nice. So again, it's like each company has solutions like the other, but one company definitely, I think, has the better options for some form factors, and then the other company, I think, hits harder for other form factors. I've enjoyed using both companies' products, but so far, and this is the silliest reason to kind of pick it, but the NexDock 360 is one of my favorites, simply because it has that extra USB accessory port. So you plug everything, your phone in, you're using your phone like a computer, and you just want to plug in anything else. Like
Xbox control.
Maybe well, no, I was going to say like an Ethernet adapter, something like that.
That's right.
And that works.
Exactly.
And you can just throw it right in. Or like, say, like for me, I tend to travel with these 1 terabyte SSDs. I can't plug this in on my UPerfect, but I can on my NexDock. So it's little things like that that I think kind of help color one purchasing decision one direction or the other. But yeah, I've been using both. I still have like my 2nd gen NexDock, the metal shelled body, which is held up phenomenally well. If you buy a portable monitor, it's going to outlive almost any other gadget that you would use it with. You get kind of multiple generations of use out of it, which is, again, I'm just saying it's such a good investment, and I really hope more people will kind of share that with their family and friends. Oh, you've got a Nintendo Switch? Well, here's a really inexpensive portable monitor, plugs in on one cable, and now you can game sort of like docked style while you're traveling. Stuff like that is just so good.
Every system you upgrade, and that's the beauty of it, because it's lacking the compute power. Every time you upgrade the device that you're connecting to it, the system gets upgraded. That's the other benefit. Yeah. It's inevitably future-proofing it. The only thing you would need to ever upgrade for is if you ever need more functionality. But like I said, you have both with or without wireless, and I feel like both solutions are still affordable, and they make perfect sense, especially for anybody that has device, especially if your device supports a desktop experience or screen mirroring. Even I would say even if you have screen mirroring, like some of the OnePlus devices, we don't have desktop experience. You can technically fire up desktop mode, but I meant to say, like, like
not on Android 13. It's proper broken.
I will say one thing that I got excited for during CES. I saw that TCL is working on a desktop mode in one of their new NextPaper, the NextPaper
12.
It runs desktop Android. It runs Android mode and desktop experience. So it looks very
TK, here's where you're behind. You might remember that I spent some time with the NextWear G headset.
Oh, that's true.
And when they sent over the NextWear G, they had a special version, a very special flavor of the TCL 20 Pro.
Yes, that's true.
And it only worked with the NextWear G. Pissed me off because it was a really good desktop mode, but it wouldn't work with any other
You couldn't fire it up with any other display
display.
on. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you couldn't play.
yeah.
It didn't work with the TV. It didn't work with a monitor or a laptop dock. But on the NextWear G, you would plug in this one special flavor of the TCL 20 Pro, and a desktop mode would pop up. If they brought that over to a tablet like the Next Paper, it was real. This was like the best first generation version of a desktop mode
It looked very
I've
refined.
ever
From
seen.
what I saw at the
It's so good.
pre-briefing, it was very nice. I was happy to be able to get
So
some alone time with that a little bit. Yeah.
I saw that too. So I got the press release from TCL. Next Paper 12 looks like it could be really good. And I like that it's already got a folio case, like a folding prop up folio case, and then it also has a keyboard case.
Yeah, that's the one.
So that it can work like a laptop.
And
it's got stylus support.
Well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. All the things.
With a sort of e-paper display, like that's insane. So again, I'm really anxious to see like what kind of distribution that might get in the United States, because also that's something I'd really like to maybe switch out for Lex, is a display that's less aggressively bright for when she's looking at these screens. She's got
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I'm sure it's going to be a premium product from TCL's perspective, but I'll be shocked if TCL's like, well, it's $1,000 tablet. Like that's not what TCL sells.
No.
Like they don't do that.
If it's coming out on TCL, you know their main goal is to make things more affordable. And even if it is maybe a little bit more initially, like the NextWear G that you're talking about, I mean, they didn't come out in the US primarily, but they were also around $600. The NextWear S
700.
So 700. So in the US, the NextWear S is striving to be more along the line of $400. So they're already kind of jumping in price wise, much lower and more across the board. Compatibility, as opposed to having it specifically for a TCL made device. So that's one of the things that made me appreciate the NextWear S as much as I was able to during my, I mean, with the pre-production hardware that we have, but it's still really good.
But just think like having a dual display experience with like a TCL NextWear S and a TCL Next Paper 12, and you're like being able to like plug into a tablet, do pen touch interface on the screen, but then also be able to look out and have like a big picture view. Like we're so close to all these pieces like coming together, and on products that are not ridiculously expensive. Like a TCL tablet with a TCL wearable display would still be sub $1,000.
Even the combo would still make sense. Will make more sense than trying to go with
crazy.
Some of the flagships coming up. But yeah, no.
So
I'm totally with you.
I just want to shout out a few people that we had here. We have Ricky, the YouTube tech guy. He just popped in for a second. He says, I love when Ricky. I saw NexDock at PepCom, and I said, I can't wait for some Gadget Guys review. And they laughed and said, oh, yeah, we send them.
No, seriously, I show up to them and say, hey, how you doing? Yeah, check out what we have right now. And they're like, yeah, we sent it to Juan already. I'm like, I looked at them and I'm like, okay, like I understand he's like hot shit and stuff, you know, but what about your guy? I'm here. No, I was very happy that they were able, at least that they thought of, because the good thing about them is they're kind of local to us. They're not too far. Like their office is not that like, far from where we are.
They're like just what is it? Just east of Pasadena? Like they're pretty close.
No, I'm saying I think one of these days we really need to make a field trip. Now that things are kind of a little bit better, so on, like as we get a little bit we just need to do a field trip and then just show up and it's like, hey, show us all the goodies, show us all the demos, show us all the pre-production, breadboards that you guys are building stuff on and stuff. Like, yeah, I want to see.
And I'll roll up with a car of their stuff. Like, hey, I've got your Next Pad and I use it, and look, this is your NexDock 360, and I love it.
Oh no, absolutely. And to Brian Glaze's point, yeah, absolutely, Juan is more important, of course. If it's always, I appreciate the fact that they think of us, and I appreciate the fact that they work with us together. And they've always thought of us kind of like as a, we collaborate with each other. They knew, obviously, I know Juan. They know that Juan knows me. We've been talking to them for many years, but it was very nice that they were able to get something at least in his hand, because it's hard to get hardware sometimes. They're in pre-orders right now. They're not available. There's not like they're sitting on stock of this stuff. So if they were able to get it to somebody's hands, I'm happy that it was Juan. And at some point, hopefully, I'll be able to play with it. And then I got a chance to see it. I mean, it's not like I didn't see it. You know what I mean? I got a chance to check it out, and I have the 360, so it's very close.
I mean, it's almost identical. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
it's interesting to see where the two companies are kind of diverting in terms of the products that they offer. But anyway, there's going to be a video that I have out on that where I maybe also compare it a little bit to the sort of perfect flavor of the same idea.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm hoping I can wrap that up for tomorrow. So we'll see how that all gets put together. And then do you have anything else coming out this week? I know you've really been playing with that
I
Insta 360.
Oh
So
my God. So I'm trying to get good at that. I really was in my mind. I wanted to push out. I have a few things I want to I want to finish up my Surface Pro 9 5G. It's due to go back to Microsoft. I'm almost done on my
mhm.
time. I don't have a lot of time left, and it again used it with me on this trip. So I finally have 3 full trips on this laptop with me, as because I told you I didn't take a DSLR. I didn't take my full PC. My laptop stayed at home. I
Yep.
was truly mobile, and then that's how I wanted to cover CES, and I did it. So I want to wrap up the story on that. So I don't think I'm going to push out anything this week. I'm going to try to just focus on getting the B-roll and the experiences built up. The Insta 360, absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it showed up. I was originally supposed to take it with me to CES. It showed up after I left, so
Ah,
I came back to a nice surprise, very nice. And there's so many accessories, dude, that they sent me. Like seriously, I have 2 extension like they have this one they call the invisible selfie stick. Like it supposedly disappears with the camera, and I have this thing that goes up to 9 feet. Like seriously, and you know what the
nice.
crazy part?
They hook
They
together.
stack. They stack. These things stack. I mean, obviously, you don't want to put the small one at the bottom, but like you can screw it. It has an expandable screw mount at the bottom. So, anyways,
That's
I may not put
nuts.
anything out this week, but for me, next week is going to be pretty much focused. Insta, GameSir, the controller, the new G7 that they let me borrow. Well, that they gave me for
Nice.
review, and hopefully also the Pro 9. So I want to close those out. And of course, at some point, obviously, since I'm not early on this, I can truly spend the time and enjoy it and put out something
Hmm.
that I really enjoy from that. So that'll be maybe for the week after next. But a few social posts and stuff like that. I'm going to start posting some pictures. Hopefully, if the weather is nice this weekend, although it's going to be raining, it's going to be gloomy. It's kind of
Yeah,
weird. Like you get a new phone and you get rain, and like
but I'm
okay,
telling you,
low
take some
light,
shots in the gloomy weather in low light, and I think
yeah.
you'll rekindle some of the excitement of like, oh, that's what this thing can do. But now I'm just
I will
repeating
definitely.
myself.
No, I know. Absolutely.
So
I will do that.
wrapping all this up, folks, again, we always plan for these to be about 90 minutes, and I figured we'd run a little long. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, to folks who have been supporting and tuning in and catching these podcasts. This is actually show 100. This is our 100th stream, and
I
we
can't believe
unfortunately
we made
didn't.
it. Like we crossed it. First stream of 23,
Were
100.
were
Bam.
we like more functional grown-ups? We should have planned something more special for 100, but we finally got there. And we just appreciate all of you who have been along for the ride and kind of sharing these stories and again just having some fun kind of catching up week to week to week on what you're into and what you're doing. So we appreciate all of the conversation and all the sharing and
Absolutely.
all the support.
Appreciate it. And everybody, thank you very much for hanging out with us on a beautiful, beautiful, at least sunny day for us here in Southern California. Thank you, Barry Johnson. Hopefully you're not too exhausted from, well, he said he's been driving for 8 hours. So I hope you're doing okay. And I hope you get to your destination. Very, very nice. Ranesh, Simon, John, as well as, Steve, Brian, we had Greg coming in earlier, Bryant in there, Steve. I don't want to say, I saw Farhan in there as well. And it's just everybody,
Hmm.
seriously,
Yeah,
spending
we had a
time
great
with
crew. We
us.
had Hawks
It
in there
is.
for a bit. We had
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ricky,
We had
Brian. I mean,
Scoop.
like,
We had
yeah,
in there, and then My Tech
Scoop.
Reviews. Everybody hanging out there. And that's one thing I didn't get a chance to see Rolando this year at CES. So hopefully we'll, at some point in one of my endeavors this year, we'll
Catch
probably
up
hang out
soon.
with each other. Exactly. Always good people. So, well, with that being said, this is very nice. Congrats on the 100, and let's get to 200 and see how quickly we can
Yeah,
get that out of the box. Be safe. Stay safe,
dig it.
everybody. Thank you, Marilyn. Have a good night. Hope you're doing well. And we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the best of our week with yours truly, as well as Juan Carlos Bagnell, some gadgets, some audio guy on the webs. Show notes and all the links will be in the description, and the audio podcast will be coming out hopefully within the next 24 hours. Take care, everybody.
Good night. Bam.